Hello and welcome to today's episode of Authentic Achievements, where it's my absolute privilege to be joined by the fabulous Deniero B. Deniero, welcome.
How are you doing? Thank you for having me here today.
Oh, I'm doing well, thank you. I'm so looking forward to this because you've got such a fascinating background. But before we just get really stuck into our conversation, let me share a little bit more about you with our guests, with our audience, sorry. So you're a serial entrepreneur, a 7-figure Amazon seller, a former Google Ads agency owner and high-ticket consultant. You've spent 14 years behind the mic as a podcaster and have interviewed over 450 guests. You're also an Amazon best-selling author and the founder of The Remote CEO, a consultancy that helps startups and professional firms scale by building remote teams. I mean, you've had quite the journey, haven't you? Could you bring that to life a little bit more for us and help us understand kind of how you got here?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. And it really sounds like a lot of stuff, but if you look at it, it was all done in sequence and it kind of makes sense. Just like, the famous quote by Steve Jobs that says you can only connect the dots looking backwards and not forwards, right? It's like if you are here now, you really understand what happened. So what happened is I was trying to have a job that gave me the freedom to travel wherever I wanted because part of my family is in Italy and part of it is in Canada. So it didn't matter if I had a job in Canada, I could only see part of my family a few weeks a year and vice versa. And so it was clear to me that I needed to get there. It didn't matter how. So I did not start with a passion project, so to speak. It was like, what is a way for me to quit my job? And so, which most people do that, right? Because some lucky people already have an idea and they go with that idea and they pursue it for 20 years and it becomes a huge company. That was not my story. I came from a DJing background, hence the podcasting part.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, there's not a lot of money in DJing. And so let me see how I can use this, wanting to learn software and sitting in front of a computer. How can I turn that into a business? And so PR agency, e-commerce. Then when I started doing some e-commerce stuff and it worked out because I started posting or selling products on Amazon. I was like, I can do this for my own products, but also teach other people how to do that. Or better yet, do it for people as an agency. And so that's when the agency started. So then once I got into agency, I was like, I can do Google ads instead of just Amazon products. And so that's when I got into Google ads and then Facebook advertising. Then when I realized that I didn't want to do the done for you work anymore, I decided to consult on the knowledge that I had accumulated over the years. And that's when we decided to pivot and go into consulting, the remote CEO. And so now what we do is if you have a few staff members that can spare a few hours a week, we'll come in, set up the systems for them to get you agency results without spending agency money. So we created this business, which is the culmination. It's like the apex of all the knowledge and experience that I've accumulated over the years, prepackaged in a consulting program.
I love that. I often say to my friends, life only really makes sense in the rearview mirror. It's only when we look back that we go, right. So that's why those bits. But I think one of the things that people are desperate for in the current climate is knowledge, but they haven't got the time to do all of the years and hours and investment that you've done to gain your knowledge. They kind of want to know. They want to know the implementable bits now, don't they? I love that actually what you're now doing with that consultancy is saying, I've learned all of this from the hard work, from the making the mistakes, from the learning from the mistakes, from the continuing to distill all of that knowledge so that actually I can now help you get there faster, quicker, without needing to go through that. Would that be fair?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly what we do. And that's why big businesses hire consultancy firms, because they're good at doing the one thing that they're good at, but there's so many areas in a business that you need to take care of. And so when you don't know what you're doing, you can spend 10 years trying to learn, or a few months going with someone that has already walked that path, pay for that knowledge and speed up the process.
Yeah, It's so true, isn't it? Because that within an organization, there is so many elements. And one of the things that, I often think about when I look at businesses, or the businesses that I work with, is, in my opinion, businesses are usually in one of three places. They're either in run, grow, or transform, but it won't be the whole business. It'll be part of it. So a part of the business might be in that bit just needs running. This bit over here needs growing, and that bit over there, that just needs to be transformed because it's not working. And you need people who've gone really deep on a skill, who've got that real depth of knowledge to be able to help you get there faster. And that's kind of what you're doing, isn't it? Is bringing that element in.
Exactly what you're saying. That's it. That's exactly what it is. Mm-hmm.
So what would you say in the expanse of different businesses and kind of treading the life of an entrepreneur, which, let's face it, is not for the faint-hearted? What would you say has been your proudest achievement so far?
Well, I think that this latest business that I've created, the Remote CEO, is not only a business, but a podcast, top 2% global podcast with 650 episodes. I think that the fact that countless entrepreneurs, they trust us and they share their hard-earned money to get the knowledge that I've accumulated, but also that my team is now imparting and setting up in our clients' businesses. To me, that alone, the helping part, is cool. Obviously, we've done great projects with our Google ads. I can tell you stories of when 2020, we were all worried about COVID, obviously. Yeah. But I had this moment where I realized I was like, oh, two of my clients are actually basically, like, I had two clients that were wholesaling at a bunch of hospitals all over Canada. And so I was on a 10% commission. And so all I needed to do is just sit down, talk to these people for a bit. And we decided to crank up the ads. And within a couple of days, again, it's a very grim story, I guess. Like, during COVID, literally, this was at the beginning of COVID when everybody was freaking out. But we were making like $300,000 as sales a day from North America alone, in masks and all the stuff that you can remember, most likely, right? So that, again, it's not, quote unquote, a proudest moment, but those were the things where, like you said, the faint of, like, it's not for the faint of heart. Like, 1 second I'm thinking, is my business going to survive? The next second I'm like, I'm going to do better than I've ever done before, but it doesn't feel right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I guess, and I can understand how that might not have felt that great. It was such an unusual moment in history, wasn't it? Because it impacted everybody, and the thing that got taken away from us all was choice. But actually, what you were doing was providing a service that was needed. So people needed those things.
Exactly. Like, it's obviously was good, but I'm saying that the setting and the fact that obviously the money itself is not made in a weird way, but the idea of rejoicing over the fact that everybody needed masks and everybody needed, like, a bunch of, like, supplies for ER or whatever back then. And I remember now the name of anyway. You get the point.
I guess that's the thing, though, isn't it? We worry about the external circumstances. So, if there's a recession, if there's economic change, if there's a change in kind of the political environment, all of these external factors that we can sometimes doom loop ourselves into and say, well, oh, we're not going to be able to do anything. And yet what's been proven over all history is great businesses are built at some of the toughest times. So out of some of the worst recessions has come some of the biggest businesses, because it's about looking for that spark of an idea, isn't it? Looking at the
money, exactly. The money is still getting spent, but it's channeled in places. Like before, when you have good times, money goes everywhere. Good products, bad products, useless products, useful products. When there's bad times, money is scarce in a way, but a lot bigger numbers are going towards products and services that are the basic ones, right? And so depending on what, obviously, you see, COVID was a different situation as well, because generally in a recession, you don't need masks, right? And so I was not planning on going through a pandemic, right? Like, I had no idea. I just thought, hey, these guys sell to hospitals, so they're whatever. Yeah, sure. Let's help them. And we were doing decent already. But yeah, when all this happened, it was a very interesting sour, like it was a very, like I felt, it felt like I said, not about making the money, but it was more about telling people like,
Yeah,
oh, that's great. Like everybody was freaking out, right? At home,
yeah,
they couldn't go out. And I was like, and everybody's like, oh, I'm so sad. And I'm like, I'm so happy. But
yeah. It is hard, isn't it? When we, when we find those moments of kind of excitement. Yeah, mine was very different, but on the very first day of lockdown, I got a call saying, would I co-author a book? And I was like, no, I can't
oh,
write
yeah.
anything. I can't write a shopping list scenarios. I certainly can't write a book. And then they were like, well, Kim, you're locked in with a 2.5-year-old. What are you going to do? And I was like, it's fair point. So I did, and bizarrely, we had a week to write it. We launched it on day 10 of lockdown, and on day 11, I ended up on national radio talking about how you become a best-selling author in a lockdown. And you were like, it feels weird. It feels
Yeah.
weird to be talking about something like that when actually we are facing such momentous uncertainty. And didn't change the fact that I was still locked in with a 2.5-year-old, and the choice had been taken away. But I guess it's those moments where you feel a little I can't quite think of the right word, but almost embarrassed to share that you've done something so well.
Yeah, exactly what I was saying. Yeah, it was that feeling of like, yeah, maybe that's not the right time to brag about this or to talk about it or whatever, right? To bring it up. Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing all of this. Could you also tell us a little bit about the lessons that you've learned? Because you've made quite a lot of iterations and pivots, haven't you, across your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, that's actually the way I see it. Instead of me deciding to change because I decided to change, I changed because I realized what I didn't like. And so we can call those mistakes, or we can call them like figure out your preferences. Now, first, I remember when I started, I wanted to make money remotely, and I didn't want to talk to people. So I wanted to kind of automate things and be like in the background, and accept a couple of very niche businesses, like, I don't know, creating blogs and getting like and promoting products and getting revenue from promoting products, or some types of YouTube videos that you can create now, faceless YouTube videos. Everything else required to be a business owner, an entrepreneur, a person. Okay, so like if you do, even if you don't want to build a personal brand, you still need to show up. So you got to sell something to someone. You have to promote a product. You have to do something. Very least have a team to talk to. So even there, you have to be consistent, showing up every day. You can't be a slob and like not call people for 3-4 days and then expect your team to be right there when you need them, when you're never there for them. And so these were all the things that I thought I didn't have to put up with at the very beginning. And so that was a big eye opener. Then I got into products, started making money, very good money. And there again, a big lesson was that there's a difference between making money and having a business. Like I can sell a product on Amazon right now, for example, create a product and put it online, and in 20 days, get it to sell 10,000, 20, 30, 40K, whatever. Let's say you 25% profit margin. So you can make anywhere between 2,500 to 10K, let's say in 30 days selling a product. Now, is a product a business? No. If you get even 1-star review, not even 3. Like let's say you have 20 1-star, 5-star reviews, you're happy, you're making money for 2-3 months, you're like, great. Then someone goes on and they don't like it. Doesn't have to be that they're right. It just needs to be that they are leaving a review. And now the algorithm will automatically kick you off the first page that you worked so hard to get on. And now try and get it off. Now, for example, if the review is truthful, then you're screwed. If the review is not truthful, if it was a mistake, you're not necessarily screwed yet, but Amazon's not going to take it down, right? Amazon's still going to leave it up, even if they know that it's a mistake. For example, like we've had instances in the past where there's a 1-star and it said something like great product or something like that, and like they were like, well, you have to contact the client. You got to figure. So you do this. People don't give a crap anymore after it's already enough that they left a review. Let alone they're going to go back and talk to you. Like, and so for, let's say, a month now, you have no business because a person ended up making a mistake on your review. Right. So that's what happened to me. And so after a bit, I was like, I need to create a lot more products. And I did that. And so I created a bunch of product and I created a business. But then now I am dealing with a side of the business that I never wanted to deal with, which was paying a bunch of tariffs from different places, China or like other countries that you're importing from, for example, dealing with supply chain issues. The boat is not, docking because there's a problem, or literally a container flipped and went in the ocean, and now you lost your product. And if you don't have insurance, you lost your product, period. Like
Wow.
everything that you can imagine. Obviously, if
Yeah.
you have one product, you don't have to deal with that. So I thought, oh, now my life's going to be good. From one product, I'll go to 10. And they put it all together. And then I was like, oh my God, now it's like 2 full-time jobs, 3 full-time jobs. And so that's when I decided, I was like, I'm exiting this, sold it, and then to someone that had the tools and the know-how to run an entire store online. And then I focused on ads. And so I was like, now I got very good at doing ads. So I'm going to start doing ads for other people. That was great until then, like I said, I realized that Amazon alone is not just the whole world for ads.
Yeah.
So I was like, actually, I can make a lot more money doing Google ads for people. There's a lot more businesses that do Google ads than just Amazon ads. And so I started getting into that idea of doing 10%, because I was like, I don't want to charge a retainer if I already know that I can deliver the goods, so to speak. I might as well go to bigger businesses and tell them, hey, let me set up a bunch of ads for you on Google. I see that you're not running them. Is that okay? Would you be opposed to me setting them all up? You tell me, let's say $1,000 budget. I'm not taking a cent. It's all going straight into ads. And then once we get sales, you give me just 10%. And so I did a bunch of phone calls like that, secured a few clients, and started that business too, which then again transitioned from Amazon, Google ads to Google ads and Facebook ads. And then after I set up that, I actually had a lot of fun doing that. And I had a team now that was pretty decent size. But again, it was something that it was interest to me. Like all the stuff that I was dealing with, import, export, I hated it. Now I'm actually having fun. I'm more a creative guy. So when it came to putting together ads, looking at that stuff, I also like the numbers, but I like to look at a dashboard. I don't like to call people and do a bunch. Like, for example, when I was doing e-com, I remember one day at 5 p.m. I got on the phone call to solve an issue, and I finished the call at 1 a.m. And it was not even fully solved. And so that was the day that I was like, I do not want to do that. And so ads is not like that. Stressful, but not that way. And so after I did that, though, I also realized I was like, I don't want to do work for people anymore. I just want to teach. And I know that I'm going to miss out on that recurring revenue model of the agency, which was great, because with an agency, you need, let's say, if you don't want to scale too big, you can need like 10, 15 clients, and you can make 30 to 50K easily. And you can keep those clients if you're good. With our line of work, we work mainly on one-time fees, high ticket, but one-time fees. And so obviously you're always on the hunt for new business. But then again, we used our knowledge from Facebook and Google ads and funnel building and conversion rate and sales, blah, 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 scripting and templates to build our own funnel for consulting. And that's what we've been using since a few years.
Wow. I mean, I love that in every iteration, it's been, I was reading a book this week, actually, and it was about chasing failure. It was talking about changing failure from being the mistake to being the lesson that allows you to get to success. And it sounds like from the journey that you've had, that's what you've been doing. It's not looking at it and go, well, that was a mistake. It's looking at it and going, what have I learned? And what am I going to take? How am I going to implement that learning to improve the next layer of my life? Would that be fair?
Exactly. Absolutely. 100%.
I love that, because I think sometimes we allow the mistake to hold us back, don't we? To floor us, to go, oh, that didn't go so well. But actually, when you start looking at it and going, okay, but what did I learn? Because actually it won't be the whole thing that went wrong. There'll be an element of it that didn't quite go the way you wanted it to. And so that's the element that you need to change. It's not the whole thing usually, is it? It's a a dusting up of elements within the process that you followed or within the journey that you were going on.
I would say this exactly. Instead of just changing, it's an evolution. It's a constant evolution of what worked, and so keeping what worked and learning from what worked and using that as a next step. If it's okay, I'm going to tell you something that I've been working on that's actually been like I've been obsessing over for the past few weeks, and we're launching soon our podcast, which is actually another iteration of this process. And so now we are here with the consulting agency. I have a great time with action taker clients, but I also know that a lot of people, they say that they want to do work, but they don't. And I actually say this on my sales calls, and that's why we have a very high conversion rate on our sales calls, about 50%, because we do 15-minute phone calls before. And on those phone calls, I call people out. And I know that I probably miss out on some opportunities of people that feel offended or they feel pressured, even though we don't pressure. But the idea is that on the 15-minute call, I tell them exactly what I'm about to tell you right now, which is, like I love being a consultant, but I hate being a parent. Like if you come to me for knowledge and you have a business and you understand that it is a done with you business and there's some stuff to do and you pay for it, it is your responsibility to do the work that I tell you to do. And so what I've realized that some people do, matter of fact, those people like in and out, absolutely no problem, a couple of weeks, sometimes 6 weeks if they have more stuff. But we do have some clients, and it's a lot. I'm laughing because some people will listen to this podcast and be like, "You have clients that are not successful, and you're telling it to telling people." Yes, because I'm proud to say that the ones that do the work, they get the results, and they're testimonials, and they absolutely crushing it. Some people have a podcast that's bigger than our podcast after they learn how to podcast through us. But some people, unfortunately, like I said, they do not understand the amount of work that goes into building a business. And so they will buy the program, let's say, and then they won't show up to the coaching calls. They will, and when they show up, it's always the same crap over and over again, where they'll tell you, well, yeah, it's the same questions. And I'm like, we talked about this last week. Right. So to me, that's getting to the point where I will outgrow this too. And because I am very comfortable, like I'll grow like the idea of working with people that are not serious. And so because I want to have a bigger impact, what I've been doing is, like I said, I used to be a DJ in Toronto for 10 years. And then I stopped to do business. And I wrote a letter, and it's in my wallet actually, that I said, I will get back to you, talking to the music. I will get back to you once I will be back, like once I will have the business that I need to create. And so coincidentally, this was December 2024. I decided to open this letter that I wrote, and I wrote it in December 14th, 2014, that I officially, because obviously I overlapped from 2010 to 2014. I would still do some shows. I'll dabble with software at home. But in 2014, I decided that's it for good for now. I sold all my equipment. And I said, absolutely nothing until. And so right now I am working on a project for the Remote CEO Show, where I'll be turning my podcast, which is a normal podcast, literally like this one, into a music / business / personal growth platform, not platform, but like show where people are going to come for a lot of fun content, where it's groovy, it mixes a lot of like images as well. So the podcast is actually going to be a video podcast, and it's going to be primarily 30-second shorts. It's something that we've never done before, and it's never really done before either. And so if I explain it to you this way, you're like, how do you do that? Well, we really use like music as the background, and then I create scripts as a author myself. I love to write, and so I write all these like 6 to 7 line paragraphs that I pretty much act, and they're all personal growth, business, and lifestyle, like entrepreneurship, lifestyle and fitness, whatnot, So it's all the same stuff that we talk on the podcast, but I create these videos that turn also now into podcasts that are fun to listen. They're easy access to anybody. So my goal is to involve Gen Z as well into the world that we are part of, not by listening to lengthy 2-hour shows sometimes where people are talking about business and personal growth, which I love to listen to. But I know that the youth of today does not. Like, I know that because I talk to them and accept a very small part of very entrepreneurial people, obviously ambitious people. The rest is on TikTok to do dances. The rest is on Instagram and other platforms to play video games or to invest in crypto scams and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They don't really know how to become entrepreneurs. And so this is my next stage where I want to have like a very low ticket kind of product or program, and have the entire platform, the remote CEO, they'll reach to millions of people instead of having, right now we have, let's say, about 5,000 to 7,000 subscribers and a few thousand downloads a month. Now I want to go totally different, appeal to the masses, so to speak, youth especially, that wants to get into entrepreneurship, and really change that so that I detach myself once more to the work of having to talk to people all the time and try to convince them.
Oh, I love that. What a fab idea. And really pulls on all of the senses, doesn't it? Because I think, we sometimes we have been told that, to almost compartmentalize our life. They say, like, leave your problems at the door, and it's like, you can't. Wherever you go. So you take all of you with you. So actually pulling together a show that actually plays to all of those senses and creates a fun and enjoyable way to learn is a genius idea. I love it.
So it's funny. Okay, so I would like to take the whole, like, to say that it was all my idea, but realistically, I'll tell you what happened was very interesting. I was, during this period, I do meditate. I meditate a lot. I'm part of Mind Valley. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Like, anyway, like, it's a very big platform for personal growth, meditation, etc. And so I do a lot of meditations where I try and envision myself in the future and start creating these kind of like vivid images. And one of the things that came up, like I said, it was the music stuff. And I was like, I need to incorporate music in my life, buying a piano again and doing all this stuff. Literally, after I meditated, I pull up my phone and I come up Gary V's feed. Sorry, on my feed, I see Gary V.
Yeah.
And it was not his general video that he was like, motivating people and like, oh, you're so young. You're so young. It was actually a video where he was presenting an idea that he's going to be working on in 2025. And it was a thing. And he said, I love music. And he literally said what I was talking about right now. But was very interesting is that I was kind of like already trying, like, a few hours later, to incorporate music, and I could not think for the life of me. I was like, how do I do this? How do I do this? And so, like, he didn't really have to say it. He didn't say how he's doing it. He just said, we are working on something that incorporates music with our general videos. And then I was like, wait a minute. If he's doing it, I'm not crazy. I love DJing. I can go on CapCut and literally find unlimited royalty-free music and beats that I can use, that I can remix, that I can cut up, that I can enhance, that I can add content to it. And so now we're creating these shorts, which are a lot of fun. Like, I have to say, they're not very, like, they're very, like, out there, some of them. I'm a very interesting person, like, when it comes to, like, the way I speak, like, outside of business, and very, very, like, direct, I would say, just similar to Gary V, I swear. I'm not saying, like I said, it's content for everybody. Matter of fact, my 4-year-old is not listening to my content anytime soon. But the reason why I do it is because I know for a fact that human beings learn by example. And when we are talking to, or rather, I would say it's not that. Sales, in sales, you want to generally mirror the person that you're trying to sell, right? So if you're selling to a person that's a bit more laid back, you probably want to be more laid back too, like easier conversation. If you're talking to someone that's super professional, for example, comes on every time with a tie and a shirt, obviously you want to look a bit different. And so for the type of audience that I'm trying to appeal to, that is their language. That is the way that they communicate, through memes. Matter of fact, all my posts have at least 15 memes in one 30-second video.
Wow.
There's images and whatnot. It's going to come out by the time the episode's going to come out. I think a few episodes, a few reels are going to be up, and it's going to be interesting to watch. But you guys,
amazing. Thank you for sharing it with us here. I literally could chat to you all day, but I'm very, very conscious of time, and we're running up to it. So before you go, could you share with the audience how they get in touch with you and who you help?
Absolutely. So we help business owners that are either professional studios or any other type of business that wants to build a remote team. And we build their remote teams, and we give them the tools to run their own internal agency. So if anybody ever wants to get their marketing done, but they prefer not going to a third-party agency, they can build their own team with us for a one-time fee and then run it at cost forever.
Amazing. And we'll make sure that all the details of how to get in touch with Deniero and his team are in the show notes below. So if you didn't have a chance to capture that, please just look in the notes below and we'll find them there. Deniero, thank you so very much for coming on and sharing your journey and your insight with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. And to everybody listening and watching, I hope you found it as inspiring, insightful, and action-based as I did. Until next time, take care.